Orb presents Unicorn in Captivity.
I'm Kole Ross.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And you are listening to Orb. It is a Venture Brothers podcast. And you're not Gary, Jeremy.
I'm not Gary, Kole. I'm Jeremy, Kole.
I'm going to apologize in advance. We did this. We got this out of the way as well with Will on Abject Suffering. If I call you Gary at any point, it is just reflex, and it is not intended to be an insult.
I have edited out me calling Gary Chris from Days of Future Cast probably 4 times because those are the 2 guys that I record with. So if I'm sitting at my usual spot with the microphone in my hand, like most of the time, it's I'm talking to either one of those dudes, and I'll call Chris Gary every once in a while too. So I 100% understand.
Okay, just and if you call me Chris, that's fine too. I think everybody knows who we're talking about. Thank you so much for being on, Jeremy.
No problem. I love the show. I love Venture Brothers. I'm very excited to be back here. I haven't guested in a long time, and we'll just get Gary sick more often so I can steal the spots on various shows.
Please don't. It makes life very difficult for us.
I don't want that for my bud anyway. But yeah, maybe I'll just find something a little less intrusive so I can force my way onto the show.
Yeah. Do some kind of Munchausen by proxy thing. As opposed to life-threatening contagious illness. Yeah.
I got on Bonfireside Chat the first time by just being really annoying on the Something Awful forum, so maybe I can go back to that.
I don't remember you being annoying. I think that we just really liked your PvP videos.
I think it was mostly Gary. I was always talking. We don't have to go into that whole history, but yeah, looking back, I feel like I annoyed myself onto Bonfireside Chat.
I'm happy you did, because we became friends that way. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Something Awful, for introducing everybody on the internet to their job.
Correct. But yeah, Gary has COVID. He's recovering now as of the time we're recording, which is nice. He'll be back the episode after next, and Jeremy has very kindly agreed to come on to talk about the Unicorn in Captivity. And the Terminus Mandate, 2 very good episodes of this show.
They are extremely good. I really love this season. I don't know. It's something weird. I haven't watched Venture Brothers. So when y'all started this show, me and Autumn started like a rewatch, and then I watched some episodes for the podcast because I guested once, and then we just finished it, and that was like 2 years ago. So I haven't watched any Venture Brothers in a long time. And man, dropping yourself in the middle of season 7 without any sort of context is a wild ride.
Yeah,
there's some build up here that I'll like, because I was watching it last night, and I'm like, and then that. Oh yeah, this is when they're. But has he? I was very confused for a little while. So.
Yeah. Had you seen much of season 7 before? Like, how many times had you watched this before you finished it out for the show?
Probably once as it was coming out, because Venture Brothers is always appointment viewing for Autumn and I. Like, if there's a new episode, we're watching it that day. And then probably at least 2 more times since then. So last night would have been number 4. I just watched these 2 episodes, not all of season 7, but
yeah.
Last night would have probably been either the 3rd or the 4th time. So.
Nice. Yeah. So this episode, it was written by Jackson Public, and it originally aired in September 16th of 2018. Still feels weird that this is Modern Venture Brothers, and 2018 feels like yesterday, but also it was 4 years ago.
It's very strange.
And this is a really neat episode for me because it reveals a little bit of one of OSI's like actual deals, like why they are in the super science game a little bit to a certain degree. So Rusty invents teleporters, which Hunter says, in the super secrets biz, we call that a biggie or something like that.
A game changer.
That's
what everyone keeps saying, because Venture Brothers, even Dr. Venture is like, this is a game changer, which is very funny.
Everybody read the same Silicon Valley books, like, oh, that's a game changer.
Do you think if this would have been like a 2020 episode, they would have been a disruptor? Like, do you think they would have used that kind of? I feel like they were on the cusp of that kind of like the disruption kind of vocabulary.
Yeah, I think that might have slipped in there.
Mm-hmm.
But Rusty invents teleporters, and the OSI has to convince him to scrap them because it would ruin the world, or at least the world as it exists. So I like the OSI kind of being sinister in that regard. Protecting the oil companies and stuff. But more overtly sinister is the Guild, who is organizing this, supposedly organizing this heist to steal them.
Yeah, it's fun. It's as somebody who really liked the development of the OSI over the course of the series, having them be like beholden to oil companies and like airplane companies was kind of a bummer. Like when Hunter lays this out and is like, you're going to disrupt the world economy. Like 2022 Jeremy is like, fuck yeah, let's do it. I'm ready. Take that, Delta.
I am on Rusty's side here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like he's holding to it. He doesn't want to get rid of it because of his own pride or anything. He doesn't want to distribute this out of altruism. But I care why somebody does the wrong thing. I don't necessarily care about somebody's motivation for doing the right thing.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I don't care that Rusty gets paid as long as I never have to drive a car again to get somewhere. Like, yes. I don't care. That seems like a way better side of the story than in the others.
Yeah, if I never have to cram myself into a flying fart tube again, yeah,
yes,
I'll put a picture of Rusty up on my wall. It's fine. But this is a weird episode tonally because Rusty, part of the OSI trying to convince him, has him go into an orgy held by the Illuminati. So he can be inducted into it, and there's a ton of nudity in this episode.
Yeah, it's interesting that you have a note in here about it being censored, and my version of because I have these episodes downloaded, were not censored. So you're hanging brain all over the place. There's tits everywhere, and it's a lot of like just like casual sex in the background happening. That must be very strange to anime because none of it's like it's not joking, right? Like it's just a very direct, like eyes wide shut kind of situation where everybody's being very serious in the background, but it's I don't know, it's just really weird, right?
Yeah. So the version that initially aired was uncensored. If you watch this on Hulu, the version that initially aired was censored. If you watch this on Hulu, and imagine if you buy it on Apple TV or something like that, today, you're going to be seeing all of these animated, dongs and boobies. The boys in the commentary, like they're watching it and they're really, really surprised that the version that they see has everything uncovered. Like up to the point where, we see Dr. Mrs. the Monarch, we see Dr. Girlfriend topless in this, and they're like, oh God, people are this is gonna go bad.
Yeah. It's a weird choice because they've always made her into like an object of sexual affection for pretty much everybody in the show since the first season, but they've never let it be like explicit, right? Like it's been like she's always been kind of like aloof to the whole thing, whereas in this it feels like she is an active part of this like sexual orgy thing, which it made me even question. I question it every single time whether or not it's Dr. Mrs. the girlfriend that shows up here, even though it's the same voice. I'm like, but she has this whole relationship with, but I know, and it's just very confusing, and I think that's part of it. It's just like she's just straight topless throughout this entire thing, which feels weird.
It ends up making a little bit more sense, or at least becoming easier to reconcile because it is not real. It ends up being a VR thing. So this is, who knows the provenance? If they've got Snoopy over there in the corner, typing the code in very fast to shape the simulation, or if this is just Rusty's own mind doing his own fantasy fulfillment kind of deal.
The reveal that it's all fake being the kind of post episode punch, I think, is what really trips me up about the whole thing. Is like I just feel like I always forget about it until that moment, and then I just think it's like somehow in my head I'm like, oh, it's just the time that he's getting like serviced by all the women at the end, right? Like I don't think that the whole thing was fake, but you're right, it's the entire thing is fake. They're just making up all these people, so who cares? Weird.
That's why the Illuminati it's all people that Rusty knows.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, Roy Brisby wheeling around on his in his chair with all these naked women sitting on him.
Every time that dude shows up, I just start laughing because it's just wheeling through the whole thing just with this weird rictus grin, and man, it is so funny to me. It is so funny.
The boys are real defensive in the commentary, saying people reacted very poorly to the VR reveal, saying, "Oh, this is a cop out," or whatever. I'm sympathetic to their point of view, like that whole "it was a dream" thing being a cop out. Only to me, that accusation only rings true when it was a decision made at the last minute to get themselves out of a corner that they painted themselves into. The fact
Exactly.
is they started knowing that it was going to be a trick that the OSI was playing on them.
Yeah, I can't really call this a cop out if because there wasn't 8 episodes of build up to Rusty joining the Illuminati and then everyone wondering like what exactly is going to happen, and then it's oh crap, now we're going to have to reveal that this whole thing has been fake all along. Like it's not a last season of Lost situation where they couldn't come up with whatever they were coming up with from the mysteries of the first season. But it's yeah. So I just with the small amount that I've been quote unquote in the public with like voicing opinions on podcasts, I can't imagine how much weird shit that these boys get for their episodes. Just because people get really insane about these TV shows, and and Venture Brothers is a popular one, so I can't imagine like the feedback and stuff that they get, because it's only going to be the high volume feedback that they even see or hear, and it's got to be really, really intense.
Yeah, they talk about going on forums and stuff, and it's like, guys, don't do that. Even I don't read that. Even I don't read the reviews that I get. Please don't. Those are not for me.
Oh man, those are for other people to decide. God, can you imagine? I just going on a forum and just like looking, because I've done the vanity searching stuff, right? Like I've looked at the supernatural Reddit to try to find people talking about our podcast, and it's never good. You don't feel good when you do it. You don't feel good when you find it. No, it's not for anybody. Like it's just a bad time all around. So.
Yeah. It's one of those things. Like after you first try it, you don't necessarily need to keep like reminding yourself that drinking salt water is a bad idea.
Exactly. You just kind of internalize it. Yeah.
It's just one of those things. I don't know. It's just it's one of those stoves that I touch every couple of years. I cannot imagine being as high profile as these guys are, and going to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No.
The B plot in this is really fun too. I guess this would be the B plot, the story of the quote unquote guild trying to organize the heist to steal it. I'm a sucker for anything heist related.
Oh yeah.
And I anytime we're putting a plan together and we're executing it, I'm 100% here for it. And just this goofy ass team of people that they're going to introduce is so much fun.
Oh, there's like the action in this is so good too. The way everything resolves, like that has always been Jackson's kind of forte, is orchestrating those kind of big action set pieces. This is probably some of the best we get. Easy.
Yeah, definitely. This is extremely good. I think anytime you put a teleporter in play and you get to play around with teleporter stuff in the context of like a heist or an escape plan or whatever it is, it's really, really good. And then they do the best thing, which is the opening scene from Mission Impossible, where this is all a decoy team, and I love a decoy team fake out, man. This is my jam. I love it.
It's so good. They do everything but have the elevator with the spikes on top of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Nobody gets almost killed by an elevator. That's a bummer.
But heist, always very good. Heist orchestrated by Toby Huss, where Mark Hamill is one of the actors in it.
Very good.
Yeah. So happy we got Copycat back. Because again, Toby Huss, national treasure. I like this character. Even just that gimmick of him being able to copy himself and all of them activating independently is neat to me. And I have no idea, like, so this is where Gary would tell me some weird stuff about Multiple Man.
I had it queued up. I was ready. I was going to be into it. I don't think there's a lot of weird stuff about Multiple Man. like the best parts of Multiple Man comes when his clones start behaving really, really erratically from him.
Okay.
So like he'll make a clone and the clone will have like a weird hero saving complex, like to the point where the clone is like actively trying to kill itself to saving people that don't need saving. Like it just weird stuff.
Yeah.
And then like some clones will just be super depressive and not like listen to him. But this with this character, it's I think a little different. Like they lean on like the Multiple Man stuff just enough, and they plant a seed pretty early. And it had been a long time since I had seen this. So when they introduced the driver X, for whatever reason, I was like, "Isn't that Hank?" I feel like that's Hank for some reason because I remember around this point he was like trying to date the daughter of the Walrus dude or something. So but I hadn't. It had been a while, so I couldn't remember where he was in that process. But no, it's just another version of this guy, just being super quiet. But when he starts like bringing the clones back, that's the cool part to me because Multiple Man doesn't work that way. Usually, like he just kind of reabsorbs them, but he doesn't reabsorb them from 10 miles away or anything. So when like towards the end of the episode, when 24 like opens the door, the guy like sees him and he just like melts into air. I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, it's it again. So we have the multiple clones and the teleporters complicating his action scenes in a really great way, in addition to the fun sight gags and just wild performance by Mark Hamill, basically doing the Joker voice but playing like a villainous clown version of Plastic Man.
Yes, absolutely. And clearly it is Mark Hamill. Like, I don't think that if you've listened to Mark Hamill in the last 10 years, you would not recognize his voice right now, right? Like, it's just so good. Yeah, this is, I love Mark Hamill's performance in this.
Yeah. It's real good. And they finish up, they get the, oh gosh, they got the pair because they had Kevin Conroy on as Captain Sunshine in a couple of episodes, so they got both Batman and the Joker.
Perfect.
Yeah,
nailed it. Also, just like talk about, I don't know if you want to do that here or you want to wait till they're introduced in the main part of the episode, but just fine. All of the supervillains, which anytime the Venture Brothers introduces like a group of super people at any time, it's so funny. .com I think it's just like it's a brilliant like goof on that character, and also like it also brings to mind the character that's named .com from 30 Rock, which is like which is a totally different type of dude altogether, but like I don't know, man, like .com as a superhero name is so funny to me. It's just really good.
It's really good. It's right up there with Ramburglar.
Ramburglar, man, come on, that's so good.
Just like that we've talked about it on the show quite a bit, but that is their superpower. Like there's a direct through line from the Tick to this, and just anytime they can lay this, they can just give us all of these background characters, and it doesn't even have to be a clever pun. Like in the Supervillain Nightclub episode, they just have Franklin Delano Disco.
Which doesn't matter. It's just good.
Yeah. So it's not just punning. There's something additional to it, but they've got just this perfect, this perfect sight gag machine completely just up and running. Feels like they
at all times
they could crank them out infinitely. Yeah,
that's so good. So much fun.
So let's get into it. Let's get into the episode. This cold open has us riffing on the fly. Rusty, Pete, and Billy, they're testing this teleporter, which is fun, and we get to see all of the they say, okay, double, triple, and quadruple fly check this, because they send an apple through, and we get to see all of the failed apples that they sent through.
Such a great like just a visual gag, because they talk about the fly thing, and then it's a few minutes before they actually go through and you see all of the failed experiments, and you see that the last one was just a mutated fly into this apple, and you're like, yep, I can definitely see why they're doing that. They definitely need to talk about it. It's really great.
It'd be a bit of a surprise if you just bite in and you just suddenly get some exoskeleton,
Yeah, not good. Not good. Not great. I love the gag where Rusty is talking about doing human experiments. And Billy is obviously like, no, we got to do this the right way. We got to figure out everything. And Rusty's like, let's just get Hank to do it.
He'd do it for the free apple.
He'd do it for the apple. Like, he'll do just anything for us. I love Hank in these later seasons. Is some of my favorite like character development in terms of just the overarching in the show. And yeah, he'll do it for the apple. It's a really, really fun one.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but like on all of my initial watches, I was a real a real Dean freak, let's say. You know, I identified more with the with his just dorkiness and earnestness. But
Sure.
over the course of doing the show, doing this podcast, I am so Hank pilled.
Oh man. He's got that goofy like golden retriever energy that you just really love from a kid, right?
Yeah.
Like he just continually wants to do cool stuff all of the time. And I think the issue at the beginning of the series is that he doesn't know how to do any cool stuff. Like he's just trying. So he does stuff like with the Batman mask and like, I'm going to wear the Batman mask to go to prom or whatever. But as the series goes on and he learns how to do cool stuff, he just becomes a cool person. Like he just does it. And it's so good. It's so much fun.
Yeah. And it's a commentary for a later episode, but it's worth bringing up here while we're talking about Hank. Like, yes, his dad disrespects him and says that he would risk his body for an apple. But like, you know, despite his, you know, tendency to, let's say, dissociate and take on the identity of whatever costume he's wearing, and you know, the oft remarked upon ADHD that he has, like he sticks out and is so funny and good in this world, but because he's kind of the only well-adjusted person. It just he has no capacity for feeling bad, really. You know, or he reacts to things appropriately. He's able to incorporate new information in a really healthy way that sticks out compared to other people.
For a show whose major theme is like failure, right? Which, you know, we deal with like Brock not being the super agent that he always was, or we deal with you know, Dr. Venture not being the super scientist that we thought he was. Hank kind of breaks the mold on that a little bit. Like he just doesn't dwell on his failures, and then he doesn't like significantly fail either, because he never like directly ties up his own personality or sense of worth into the things that he does. He's just doing shit to have fun, and that's great. So it doesn't matter if like, you know, shallow gravy doesn't work out, right? Like, because he's just having fun with it.
It's fine. I'll put my shallow gravy sticker on the back of my laptop. That's still a part of me. It's fine.
Yep, exactly.
You know? Dermot, when joined the OSI, it makes it kind of hard to gig, but whatever. I still got Hanko, you know.
I still got Hanko. I gotta extract dollars from these poor citizens that we're poisoning. Another supervillain reveal is happening in this science lab where Tiny Eagle is spying on them. I like Tiny Eagle a lot. Again, not necessarily a pun or anything, just a tiny guy in an eagle suit, and it's just very funny.
Yep, I think we saw Tiny Eagle, or at least he was alluded to before. But Brock just crushing him between his thumb and forefinger. It's really good. Just plucking him out of the air. But Tiny Eagle was spying. He only reported back to base once he saw Pirate Captain walk through. Pirate Captain came through to get some, you know, business signatures and just stepped on the teleporter, went through the other side and got teleportation disorientation, started vomiting, thus making super science history.
I was really thinking when I first saw this episode that that would be the plot of this thing, because there's all sorts of stories about going through a teleporter and then coming out a little bit wrong on the other end, and then they planted all those fly vibes in my head. So I really thought that we were going to be focusing on the pirate like turning into something else over the course of the episode, and I'm glad we didn't, because the poor pirate he goes through a lot throughout this series. So he doesn't need to be turned into a fly. He doesn't need to be gold bloomed or anything.
The worst. It's so funny because the pirate captain is such a tragic figure, you know. Just he, you know, starts out just being real pathetic, you know, stranded, hijacking ships full of hot pants or whatever, and like he fails upward in so many ways, and like the worst possible thing that could happen to him has happened to him, which is becoming the CEO of the world's most successful tech company. It's great.
So much fun.
So we cut over. The Monarch is angry. You know, this discovery has gotten out. He's not going to join a team, even if it's just to fill in for this single job. And Dr. Girlfriend, Dr. Miss the Monarch says, hey, you know, you need to raise your level. The guild really needs this target for this heist. So, just go and do it. Kind of Dr. Miss the Monarch, her whole thing has been just like, just do the steps, work the program, kind of take your lumps and work your way up. This is a quick way for him to do it.
Yeah. Of course, the Monarch is going to be aggravated having to work for a team. That's not his vibe at all.
Nope.
And so I do want to mention one thing. Over the course of this season, like they move into this house, which was his parents' house, and it was all decrepit. And like, I love the background stuff where they're just constantly remodeling it. And like now we're in this kitchen that it's like a really nice kitchen. And I know you're a homeowner. I don't know how much house talk shows up on Orb lately, but like you must be looking at the background going, those are some nice cabinets. Maybe I could do that in my.
Yeah, I mean, it would not be practical for my space, but it is really, I can appreciate a good cabinet.
Yeah. How did they do that tile backsplash? Tell me more.
like where do you get a butterfly pattern tile backsplash? That rules,
right? Where did you even find that?
It might be harder to sell. It's a little bit of an opinionated design. It's not as universal as the standard white subway tile, which I have. But standard white subway tile is boring. Make a statement, for God's sake.
Yeah, get some butterflies on there. Jesus Christ, what are you doing? Eventually, she convinces Monarch to take the job, so he goes over to the apartment of Copycat and meets everybody. So this is where we meet .com, Tunnel Vision, Presto Changeo, Ram Burglar, and of course Driver X. Presto Changeo, I think, is probably the standout of any of these, and part of it is the voice actor just being Mark Hamill and doing his Joker voice, which is fabulous. Like he's just a great voice. But it's also because like Presto Changeo is such a dumb, like he's just a plastic clown. It's a real dumb joke that works. Like when they're discussing the plan and they're talking about like hauling out the teleporters, and he says, "I'm going to turn into a what was it? Like a hand crank or something?" But he's like, and then he says, "But it's a man crane."
Yeah, it's a. I'll be a hand truck or a man truck.
Yeah. And then he just turns into like a little dolly.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it eventually, but like towards the end of the episode when he confronts Brock, and Brock is like, "This is so stupid." Man, it's so good.
Brock has no patience for this dipshit. It's so good.
Not at all.
He calls him Toy Man. I had no idea. So correct me if I'm wrong, but Toy Man it's a DC villain who turns into toys.
That could be the case. Yeah. I'm not nearly educated on DC stuff. So like I saw a trailer for Black Adam and I was like, why do we call him Black Adam? That seems a little weird. I don't know anything about DC really. So
I've got no catalog on DC, but yeah, like in the commentary, Jackson and Doc talk about it's like, oh, I fucking hate shapeshifters. Like they spend a good, like few minutes just dunking on Plastic Man, just like all of their contempt for that idea, like, oh, he can change into anything but not change his color scheme, like they poured all of their contempt for that concept into Presto Changeo. And the fact that everybody is like super professional and you have this just incredibly obnoxious clown just demonstrating, and then I'll turn into a snake. Who has time for Presto Changeo?
Nobody. The least of which is the Monarch, who is barely wants to be here anyway, and then like sees this group of just fucking idiots, and it's just like, I am so above this. Like, and even though he may not be, like, he just feels that he is.
Yes. Yeah. Let alone when he finds out that they're going after the Ventures. But cut over to Rusty. Brock is taking him, just like, hey, they're in this elevator, like, hey, I've got some concerns about security. He's holding up Tiny Eagle's corpse, like maybe our security should be more than just me and the front desk guy who also gives tours.
.com calls Sergeant Hatred something in this when he goes off to walk, and I wish I'd written down what the insult was, but it was a really funny insult that she threw over at Sergeant Hatred. I wish I'd written it down. Yeah,
I can't recall it, but yeah, Sergeant Hatred. That's not enough, guys.
Brock takes him to this floor that Rusty didn't know about, and it's like this hugely fancy room. Like there's a bunch of weird statues in the background. There's like the stereotypical like hot receptionist, and the gag here where Brock is like leans over and is doing the Brock thing. You think he's gonna like seduce her or say something, and he puts his thumb in her mouth, and everyone's like, "What in the fuck is going on?" But then the whole thing dividing to become a door, including the receptionist, is so good. Like, I mean, it's so impossible and impractical that I absolutely adore it.
Yup. And just the detail to like right down to the receptionist pulling aside and revealing the OSI command center that has been right under Rusty's nose the whole time.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yeah.
But Rusty sees this, like, oh, well, now my erection's gone, which weird. Okay. And Brock says, hey, it's time that we have the talk. So we're going to see what that's about. Over at Copycats, we learn what the plan is. They're hitting Ventec Tower. Tunnel Vision's going to use the subway noise to cover his drilling in through the foundation. Presto Chango is going to slip in through the laser grid disguised as a snake. And slip in a computer dongle, letting .com turn off the security so Ramburglar can grab the target, bust out, hand it off to Presto, and then Driver X takes everybody to safety. Well thought through job, nice and simple. Monarch's not having it because, one, his role has been relegated to lookout, and two, nobody hits Venture. Venture's his.
Yeah, I mean, it may not be his arc, but like it's his in spirit, if not in writing. And his little rant about how much he knows about Venture, you have it in here with the coffee and the sleep number and everything. It's just very, very funny. It's amazing that you're 7 seasons into this series, and Monarch just continue. Like, we don't really even have a great explanation for why he hates Dr. Venture so much, but it still just works. It's always good.
And just the pettiness of the detail. I know his sleep number. It's 25. He's soft.
I don't even know what that means. I've never had a sleep number bed before. I don't even know what that means. And the idea of like using the Monarch is just to fly around the tower, just to look out, is exactly what is how the guild would see the Monarch right now. But that's not at all how the Monarch sees himself, and he's really, really upset about it. It's really good.
And that's been his motivating tension for the past 3 seasons. Like, I mean, especially since he lost the cocoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like he has like, hey, Copycat, don't you have a copy copter or something? Like, let's just make an aerial assault. And that is thrown off as a joke. Copycat totally has a copy copter. It's weird that Monarch knew that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just makes sense. You're not going to be named Copycat and not have a copycopter. Like, no, it just works. Yeah.
It comes when you register the name. Yeah.
Exactly. He signed up for the full packet, for the full copy package.
But we're not changing the plan. It's happening tonight. So they're gonna go as it stands, and of course, all of this is a big setup. Makes sense why Copycat would want to get Monarch involved in this, just because, contempt for the guy, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think from here we go over to back over to Dr. Venture, where Hunter is kind of telling him how, hey, you did a good job. This is what we call a game changer. But this game changer will actually destroy the economy, destabilizing the world, and then you'll have like the rich and powerful coming after you. And Rusty's like, I don't care. Like, as soon as I do this, I'm going to get a Nobel laureate, and I'm going to go to Spanakopita, and then I'm just going to retire on a pile of money and women. Like, I don't care about any of this stuff. Like, he doesn't care at all. But of course, the OSI does, because that's what's holding them up.
Yeah. They're like, let them come after me. The OSI is supposed to protect me. Brock says, oh, we are protecting you by getting you to not do this. Yes. It's a bummer that Brock's in on it, but Brock's a company man, to some degree. Like, he's given up the life for the Ventures, but yeah. But it's not a request. Like, this isn't a kindness that they're offering. Like, hey, if you don't do it yourself, we're gonna do it. And Rusty says, hey, this is a free country. Hunter turns on the shackles on his chair, and then we get the Illuminati appearing almost exactly like the Council.
Yes.
Black silhouettes against a red background.
So much so that I would, if we didn't know exactly who was on the council right now, like if we were still kind of hiding that back from the viewer, I would assume that they were the same members in some cases. And there's some pretty recognizable profiles throughout here. I haven't been cued into the Venture Brothers for long, but like you could definitely pick up on the amusement park guy we were talking about earlier, Bisbee or whatever. And there's some other recognizable profiles, but like it's just great, and that makes me wonder. Because again, like we're going to go through the whole like induction to the Illuminati orgy later, which is all turns out to be fake. Like, is this real? Like, or is this Hunter like faking these profile pictures to just set up this thing that's outside of him, just to make sure that he can do whatever the hell he wants to, right?
Yeah, I have no idea when the illusion starts.
Exactly. Yeah.
But some people who are on the Illuminati, kind of the main guy is Dr. Quentin Ball. This is a real weird one. He's a background character. He's the bald guy with kind of purplish skin that you see like in the background at like tag sale,
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
General Man Hours is on it.
Sure.
Roy Brisby, obviously, and then this is like a real throwback. The administrator of the Mexican University from episode 2 of the show, from Dia de los Dangerous.
Oh wow, the one that's going through all the Chupacabra stuff.
Yep.
Oh wow, dude, that is a callback. That is wild.
That goes all the way back. Yeah.
Jeez. So. I love these guys so much. What a great TV show.
They never put their toys away. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they're not threatening him. They're saying, hey, we think that you've got what it takes. We want you to join us. You don't have to make your decision now. We're having this gathering tonight. Come see what we're about. And then you make your decision.
Exactly. Yeah. We're having a party. Why don't you come and hang out with us? We go over to 24, where he is training the dude Manolo and how to box. I just love that 24 picked up Spanish because that's just the kind of dude that 24 is. Like he just, you have a bunch of Spanish guys that live here with us, so we're gonna learn Spanish real quick. But the main thing that happens is Monarch calls him. And I love the like lingo between 24 and the Monarch so much. Like as they have gotten closer in kind of status with one another, like even though 24 is very much the sidekick or the assistant or whatever you want to call him, they've gotten a lot closer. So they've just developed their own like slang and like kind of casualness. And Monarch is like, I can't believe this. I just thought we was a meet and greet. Yeah, or a go-see. I'm like, what is a ghost? And I get it. Like you immediately get what it is, but it's just something that they have obviously. It feels like such a lived-in conversation that they have had conversations like it before and developed that shorthand. And it's
that's one of those things where like we've remarked where it feels bad when the show undercuts the friendship between the Monarch and 21. I feel like a dick correcting you, but people might get annoyed if I don't. 24 died. This is 21.
Oh, I'm mixing up the 20s. I'm sorry.
No, it's super easy. In the past, I've called them 23. I've called them 23 and 24. Yeah.
Well, that's just despicable, Kole. How dare you?
I made up a guy. Yeah. No, but like when specifically when we show the Monarch not valuing that friendship, it does claim because those moments where they've got the patter and they've got that lived in relationship. Because those are so satisfying and good. Yeah. But this goes out to the wings too. So the Monarch came here. He thought, I'm just going to, get a feel for this. Not the case. Like they're going tonight. He doesn't have his working wings. He just has the costume wings. He needs the ones that actually fly. The good wings, the Glengarry wings.
Again, what has to be like a weird inside joke. And I get the reference. Don't get me wrong. But like, I just, the Glengarry wings is such a funny and like really precise way of talking about something. And I love the dialogue in this show so much.
Oh yeah. I mean, and like, I don't know. I love that movie and that play. So it's also one of those things that I would say. So it's like, I get it. I see myself here and I like it. So Brock is driving blindfolded Rusty out to the Illuminati meeting place. And again, this dialogue, Brock says, it's for your own good. And Rusty's like, oh, that's what the Nazis said. No, they didn't. And we're in full on Kubrick world, because we're going into an orgy. There's going to be an Eyes Wide Shut orgy. There's going to be the bar from The Shining, and the valets, like all of the male waitstaff at this, are dressed in creepy Barry Lyndon costumes.
It's very weird. It's such a pure and direct aesthetic. Like I think because of the media that we've consumed over the last 50 years, I doubt I know a single person that has ever been to an actual orgy. Literally anybody that I know, that I've ever had any communication with, none of them have ever been to an actual rich person put a mask on orgy. So all of this, I feel like, is just drawn from the public perception of what an orgy is, which is created by stuff like Eyes Wide Shut or whatever. And it's so fucking spot on to have these identical Barry Lyndon weird pasty-faced motherfuckers going around taking coats and just appearing at random places, and
their powdered wigs just smiling placidly.
Ugh, gosh, so gross. It's so gross, man.
Just the whole presentation, yes, they're showing them as being upper status, but also not as people,
Yeah. I'm sure you and Gary have talked about this in various forms on the podcast that y'all do, and me and Gary has come up on Days of Future Cast a couple of times. But just the idea of an orgy is just the most repulsive thing in the world to me. I just can't. There's no possible way that I would find any enjoyment being anywhere near this thing. Even as just not even as a participant, the pressure of being a participant would be one thing. But even if someone was like, no, you don't even get to, you can just hang out at the bar and just people watch. And I'd be
just observe.
I don't want to, I don't want to do that. There's 10% curiosity, right? What would you see? What kind of weird stuff are you into? And then there's 90% I could do anything else with my life right now.
Yeah, I could not be in this very just unpredictable intimate situation. But both of those things, there are too many variables at play. And have you ever seen the show Review with Andy Daly?
It is so weird that you bring it up, because Gary and I were just texting about a totally different show, and he was like, have I review pilled you? And I was like, you haven't, but me and Autumn bounced off that show when it was first coming out, and now that we're really back into I think you should leave and stuff like that, I'm like, we need to review it, or we need to revisit it, not review it, sorry. So I literally yesterday and today just downloaded all of those episodes so that we could start watching them because I've never seen them. So
I really enjoy the show. I think that I think you'll like it especially now that you're watching them all in a go, if you're taking it that way. I bring it up here because there's an episode where somebody asked him to review an orgy. I won't reveal everything that happens in it, but there's one scene where when he first goes and shows up and he's super awkward in it, he something he says is, we need to decide if this is going to be a sex surface or a food surface, because I don't think it should be both.
It definitely should not be both. That's really good.
Yeah. And Rusty's real uncomfortable here too. Oh, I think I'm overdressed, and he walks in, and the show is just, and the shot is just framed by genitalia.
Yeah,
in the foreground,
dicks and vaginas everywhere. Yeah. It's very funny. Have you ever gone to a concert by yourself, like a small venue concert by yourself?
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like Rusty's feeling here is when I went to see a very cool concert by a group called Themselves, and I was pretty much on my own, and I felt like it was a place that I'd been to a bunch. It was a band that I really loved, but instead of vibing with the people there, I just felt like everybody there was cooler than me, and I didn't belong. I didn't pass a hip hop test to come in like everybody else did. You know what I'm saying? I just felt like I was not the person that was supposed to be at this concert, which is total bullshit. That was 20-year-old Jeremy thinking, right? That's, but I have to imagine when when the Dr. Venture walks in this, he's like, oh, you guys are at a whole different level than what I am.
I have no anchor here, and thus, because I have no anchor holding me to anything else, I'm going to drift to the edges. Like,
Yeah.
I do not want to be affixed to the wall, but that is where I feel driven to.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm about to wallflower this motherfucker up. Let me tell you.
Yeah, kind of by necessity, to avoid the fluids. But and it's just he's looking for the leaders, but everybody has masks on. I love the statuesque woman that rides by on a zebra.
No reason, just going through.
Where are they stabling that zebra?
There's a moment where he like tries to talk to someone, and the guy just looks up and just like puts his finger over the mask lips, and he's like, "Okay, cool." Like, don't interrupt my viewing of this extra special orgy stuff. He heads to the bar. You mentioned that this is a Shining reference. It definitely feels that way. Obviously has that moment that Ventura always has, where he's like worried about the money situation. And then starts eating like the snacks, and he finds out that it's the orphan is especially good this evening, extra virgin, of course. Our chef insists only on the cleanest of orphans. Jesus fucking Christ. The concept is so bad, it makes me wonder again, like, it's really hard to remember as you're watching this episode that it's all fake as it's happening. Even coming to the podcast, I was like, that episode stinger really, like, you have to think about it at all times. Like, did they design this for Rusty? Or is this like a default? Like, does everybody get the orphan sashimi treatment? Like, is this specifically something they did for Rusty? Like, how does this work? I want to know the programming.
How much of this is stuff that he's bringing himself? Because, like, if they say Illuminati, and he's just filling in the details for himself, so much of this is pulled from pop culture that it could feasibly be just like, oh yeah, this is all cultural shorthand, or this could just be Rusty's kind of own knowledge. Kind of like you said earlier, nobody's really been to an orgy, but when somebody says orgy, you picture eyes wide shut. So is that what's happening here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very confusing. And of course, he's super grossed out about it. I wanted to ask you, if you found out, like, in this situation, maybe not the orgy. Let's remove the orgy from it, right? Like if you just happen, like, if you're like take an hors d'oeuvre and you're like, there's a bite and someone's like, oh, that's human flesh, right? Like, would you get super grossed out about it? Because I feel like I would be like, oh. And then I would just not eat any more of the human flesh. But I don't know that I would, like, run. Like, Rusty runs to a fountain and starts, like, gagging down water to try to wash his mouth out. I think I would just be like, well, that's a bummer.
Yeah. It's hard to tell. I think my immediate reaction would be to try and purge it, irrationally, because meat's just meat, and I didn't procure it. Yeah. I have no way of knowing, right? It's kind of like religious ordinances against food. Like, you don't go immediately to hell if you eat pork in Islam. Just if you didn't know, it's just like, oh well, you didn't know, so it's fine. It's a matter of intention more than anything. But yeah, I think that I would probably try and purge it. It's weird that he runs out, gags, and then drinks from the fountain to get the payoff of him looking up at the dude right next to him in this moon mask, just lovingly bathing his scrotum and taint in the water.
Yeah. Why would you run to a fountain? Like, go to the bathroom, you fucking weirdo.
The bathroom is occupied by the sex.
By all the sex, of course. Yeah. All of the sex bathroom people are in there. Yeah, the human flesh thing comes up. Me and Autumn watched Hannibal not long ago, and then ended up doing, like, a whole, like, we went back to all of the old movies and, like, rewatched all of the Hannibal content we could get our hands on. And it's just like, that dude feeds people all the time. Like, he invites guests over and feeds them human flesh, and we just had the conversation of, like, if I didn't know, and even if I found out later, I'd be like, well, I mean, that's a bummer, but it was really good. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Presentation plus, man. Like, I feel bad about it, and I hate that somebody died, but I don't know that I'd get worked up in my feelings about it too much. I'd be like, damn. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
It would be hard to feel terribly. Yeah, I don't know how much guilt would factor into it. There would definitely be disgust and revulsion, but
See, I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I'd have a whole lot of disgust and revulsion. Like, again, I didn't do anything. It's just meat. Like, somebody's going to take this out of context. Twitter, calm down. I'm already worried about the ats I'm going to get on this now that I'm thinking about this. Like, Jeremy condones human cannibalism. No, I don't. I'm not seeking it out. I've eaten a lot of weird meat in my time, and I don't feel bad about it. So
yeah.
I don't know. Babies, I guess babies would be a total. Like, if you told me it was orphan babies, I would be a little fucking weird about it. Like, as opposed to, like, I'd probably eat James Franco with no problems.
I mean, especially now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't care. Like, all right, well, there's less James Franco in the world. I think we're all happy about that.
I'm fine with justice cannibalism. It's weird. It's weird where we draw our line.
Yeah, everyone's worried about being canceled. They should be worried about being cannibalized.
Cancelabilism.
Cancelabilism. There you go.
Things can always get more extreme.
Oh man, Justin Peterson, make a video about this. I'm ready. Say it out loud.
Oh my gosh. So Rusty, disgusted by everything here, he goes to run from the moon guy washing his balls and runs, straight into Dr. Mrs. the Monarch. He kind of recognizes her, but doesn't. He's like, "Hey, do I know you?" She's just here. She's not a leader. She is working the orgy. I love this line. This gig was a lot easier before they inducted the guy who invented Viagra.
Yeah, now you have to stay all night. These dudes aren't just one and done. Again, I had this moment last night when watching it, and it's so weird that I just was thinking how completely out of character this was for Dr. Mrs. Monarch, especially like who she is in the guild, and like didn't even completely forgot that this was all simulation. So this is just stuff like this. It just doesn't exist. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
But somebody walks up and is like, "Hey, I gotta take this sex worker," and she tells Rusty to meet her about the tapestries in 20 minutes. And I just really want to know like, how much tapestries are there in the room? How many tapestries are there in the room to make it like the tapestries? You know what I'm saying? Like I would assume that they got stuff on the walls all over the place, but yeah.
You just go hang out and see and see if she shows up. Yeah. So we're gonna see the actual job starting. So the dig team are Ramburglar, Tunnel Vision, and Presto. They're in the sewers, and they start the digging when the subway comes by. Everything's going to plan. Presto weaves in through the vent lasers, and then things go wrong when Brock walks in with the teleporter cases. Oh, good.
No, I was just saying whoops, because they did not expect this. Yeah.
Nope. Did not account for it. But they do have a plan B, which is for the Monarch, who currently doesn't have his wings, to break into the penthouse to cause a distraction.
Yep. Luckily, 21 has showed up with his wings, conveniently disguised as men's diapers, which is, Monarch is like, you were covering up. What? Why did you do this?
Yeah. And 21 says something true, which is you make up a lie embarrassing enough and nobody questions it.
Yep. That's how I used to get out of work. I would call in and say that I had explosive diarrhea, and nobody. If you put the word explosive in front of diarrhea, nobody wants to talk to you on the phone anymore. They're just like, come back tomorrow.
Nope. Yeah, it's the perfect crime. But speaking of explosive diarrhea, he's got to go use Copycat's bathroom, which is going to set up a reveal later. Brock's loading up the teleporters. And they don't have time for the Monarch to put on his wings and make his move. So Presto decides to improvise. And so we get the Presto Changeo version of Helper kind of rolling out to plug in the dongle.
This goof where Brock at first like thinks that Dr. Venture painted Helper again, which in itself is a callback to like him getting I think it was the first or second episode where they, get him all in flames and everything when they're down in Mexico.
It's Dia is dangerous when he gets taken to the chop shop and they do him up like a hot rod.
Exactly. Yeah. But then when he's like, Helper, is that? He starts getting suspicious, and Presto Changeo can't just do that kind of Helper beats. He does the clown horn, and it's so stupid and good. I just love it.
So Brock draws his knife, but unrelated to this, an alarm goes off, and these claws on the ceiling reach down, grab the teleporters, and start carrying them away. They carry one of them away, rather. And Presto gets the other one. He turns into Jack in the Box and grabs it, and this is when combat starts.
Yeah, and we didn't mention it, but throughout this whole buildup, as like the plan is starting to go awry, Ramburglar is in the vents, like just waiting for the security to come down so that he can, bust through the wall and grab stuff. But the whole time he's on the mic, like, just let me at him. Like, I'll just take Brock out right now. And it's this real, like, all tough guys want to kick Brock's ass because he's the tough guy, and they can kind of claim that. And he like slams him into the computer wall, and you're like, okay, but Brock's about to fuck this dude up. Like, it's not even going to be a question.
It kind of doesn't matter if you get the first attack on Brock. Is the thing. You can get the jump on him, but you're not going to come out on top. Hubris has ended many of people's lives when it comes to Brock.
Oh, absolutely. This is when 21, as he's going into Copycat's apartment to go to the bathroom, finds a whole room of Copycat clones, and they're orchestrating a whole different heist. So this whole team is meant to just basically set off the alarm that was set off, so it would take the teleporters to a different spot so that the copycat can just steal it directly, and all of this team can get burned. Really fucking good. Classic Mission Impossible 1, which is one of my favorite movies of all times.
Yeah, it's real good. His plan was to trip off the alarm and get the teleporters taken up to the panic room, and then he just wanted to steal the entire panic room and getting it, which is a good plan. But you know, he didn't count on his actual ground team being incompetent and unpredictable.
He didn't count on chaos, which is what you should always count on when you add Monarch to your team at any point.
Yeah.
21 calls the Monarch and tries to tell him to abort the mission, but they're unable to get through because the reception, 40 floors in the air is apparently not that great. And the Monarch ends up crashing into the bedroom, where he immediately goes to the bed and kind of falls on the bed, and then he gets taken directly to the panic room, which has one of the teleporters. And of course, the moment where Monarch sees the teleporter, he's like, "You got to be kidding me!" It's really, really good.
Setting up the amazing teleporter action later on. Over at the orgy, Rusty is lying in wait in the tapestry room. The establishing shot for this has him laying with a champagne bottle kind of like arranged, making it look like his erect penis. That has to be a visual quote of something, but I can't recall what it is.
I'm sure it is. It kind of just was, like a Playgirl-esque pose or something. I don't know if it's a direct reference or anything, but it's definitely just the vibe. And Rusty being so overconfident in these interactions that he has, specifically with Dr. and Mrs. the girlfriend throughout the series, like him literally taking off all of his clothes but the tidy whities is a I mean, you can't catch me dead in a pair of tidy whities nowadays, dude. I can't imagine him just undressing, and I bet in his head too, he's really thinking I'm gonna embrace the spirit of the orgy, right? But I'm here in this sexual place. I'm going to experience the sex or whatever.
Yeah, I just it's keeping your shirt on in the pool. Come on, Rusty, go, no half measures, Rust. So he's laying there, and the kind of the leader walks in. He's wearing an ominous gold mask and these red robes, and he's talking about this tapestry that's on the wall behind him, or this painting. It's famous, I think, Dutch painting, the unicorn in captivity, part of a series about hunting a unicorn and putting it in this comically small little fenced off pen, saying, "Oh, the unicorn is in captivity and is no longer dead." And it's a metaphor, basically the idea, Rusty is the unicorn. Rusty thinks, "Oh, so I'm your prisoner." And the Illuminati guy's like, no, you're not a prisoner. You're not confined. You're safe. He's been a beautiful garden. He can't hurt anybody or be hurt by anybody, just trying to basically reframe the perspective on what joining the Illuminati would entail.
Yeah, and Rusty's response, which is I'd rather be in the woods running free with my dope-ass unicorn horn. It's very funny. It's very good. And he stopped. Rusty goes to leave, I'm just not going to be a part of this. And he's stopped with the other masked Illuminati comes in, and this is where they present their actual offer, which is join us or die, which in this case takes the form of the lady or the tiger, the lady being this Dr. Mrs. the girlfriend, or the tiger being a huge dude with a giant metal blade of a dildo. And yeah, I love Rusty's please tell me this is another metaphor. And they're like, nope, not at all. This is for real. And yikes at this decision.
Cold hard truth, Dr. Venture. In this world, it's fuck or be fucked.
Ouch. I'm curious, with did they say anything about the language on the show, on this episode in the commentary? Because it stuck out to me. There's several times throughout this where they say like what the F or what the H, especially the guild heist team, but then you just actually have fuck or be fucked in this, and I was like, I don't know what they're like. I was curious if there was a thing, if it's a censorship thing versus a not censored thing, or you're in an orgy, so of course you can say the word fuck thing, or if it's like copycat maybe doing that like MCU Captain America thing, like chiding people about their language or something. I don't know where it was coming from.
It's not addressed specifically in the commentary. As far as I can tell, I think maybe the most plausible scenario is either they were doing it as a joke to draw that contrast, or what feels more likely, because like it feels like such a compromise, is that like maybe Adult Swim gave them, all right, you get 3 fucks this episode.
Yeah,
we're gonna beep them, but any more than that would be gratuitous. So I've got no idea if that's a deal they would make, but that lines up for me with what a Brain Dead Standards and Practices department would do.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And this is where things actively start falling apart for our heist team. They've got one teleporter. They don't have 2. So they come up with this, like, we're gonna torture Brock. Meanwhile, Monarch is in the panic room and Hatred catches him. And this moment where Hatred just immediately opens fire on the Monarch. So the Monarch like holds the teleporter up, which is kind of like just a big metal circle, holds it up like a shield. And of course the bullets go in and then just start wasting Ramburglar, who's holding on the other side of the teleporter. It's so good. I love teleporter goofs, man. It's so fun.
I love that he falls over, and if the bullets didn't take him, the teleporter does. He gets telefragged. His head gets teleported into the panic room, horrifying the Monarch.
Monarch has no idea what's going on or why there's his head going there. I mean, obviously he recognizes it, but it's just very funny. Yeah. Presto grabs the teleporter. Him and Tunnel Vision start trying to run. And this is where Copycat makes his move, which, as we mentioned before, was to get the teleporters into the safer, into the panic room, and then to just steal the panic room altogether. I love we're trying to break into the safe, so we're just going to steal the safe situation. I don't talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a whole lot, but there's a gag from the first season where they're breaking into a building, and Agent Coulson is like, we need a computer guy because we're going to upload all of these files. And so they've got a van outside with computer guys, and it all goes wrong, of course. And Agent Coulson calls down and is like, you need to prepare for a large file transfer. And they're like, all right, sir, when's it coming? And he's like, now. And he just pushes a filing cabinet out of a window.
That's good. I like that.
It's a dumb goof, but it gets me every time I think about it. And stealing a whole panic room is exactly the same kind of situation.
Yeah, like that whole thing, the idea of just stealing the safe instead of breaking into it, just brings to mind the ATM from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that one, but that's exactly the same situation of just like, I'm just going to take this to my house and work on it for a while.
Yeah, just from the comfort of your own home. Everybody's working from home these days. So 21, he's desperately trying to get anybody in this team to understand that they're being set up. So he runs up to the getaway vehicle. It's this armored car. And before he can get there, we see that Driver X is actually another copycat. He snaps his fingers, just leaving an empty suit for 21 to find, which is very confusing to both 21 and .com. Yeah. And Brock is awakened and has chased Presto Changeo and Tunnel Vision out of the manhole. And they throw the teleporter to 21, saying, all right, you're a getaway driver now.
Brock manages to chase Presto Changeo, and I mentioned this earlier, but he changes into a Stairmaster, which Brock just naturally runs up and starts moving, and Brock he just gets so mad. He's like, this is so stupid, and he just stabs Presto Changeo in the control panel, I guess it would be the best thing.
The control panel, but where his face was.
Yeah. Oh man, this is so funny. Just Brock's like, this is so stupid.
And the music is up. It's just in the middle of this action scene, and Presto Changeo does the dumbest thing.
So good. Hatred runs out he manages to somehow hit the copycopter and causing the thing to start tail spinning. I was going to call it out too, but the aborter Rooney, like all of copycats. I don't know if we've talked about it a lot or if y'all talked about it on previous episode, but his whole language thing is just very good. Like
just like a 1950s Dean Martin. It's aborter Rooney time.
It's really fun. So he bails. He just snaps his way back to the main copycat.
Unfortunately, this puts every copycat back in the apartment that the helicopter and the safe room crash into.
Yep. He says something here too, like, well, doesn't that just put a fly in your martini or something like real like Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin is, and then it just kills him. It's very funny. The Monarch is still in the safe room. I love this like shot of him just getting bounced around with Ram's head just bouncing around with it, just so gruesome. It's very bad.
And he opens the door thinking he's going to get out, but he sees the door is pointed down and they're careening toward the big statue of a hand that's in the middle of Columbus Circle. So he decides, hey, I'm going to use the teleporter to get out of here, putting himself in the passenger seat of the truck, distracting 21 for just enough time for them to crash again into the center of the plaza. And I love the moment where they're like ejected from the car and they're sitting in the middle of the plaza and 21 just like, sup.
The moment when the Monarch appears in the van next to 21 is good too, because they do that thing that TV shows do from time to time where one person starts screaming and the other person just screams back, and it's just between these two though it's especially funny.
I wouldn't have screamed if you didn't scream.
Also a really good detail because the Venture Brothers security and of course OSI is now involved in this. So they're all like running up to this plaza to like catch these two guys so they can get their hands on the teleporter. But I just really love the noise. I don't know why, but it brings me back to like Tecmo Super Football. Like it feels like that kind of noise that the football players make.
just the noise of organized men running.
Exactly. Yeah. But they're all making like like they have to be doing it with their mouth, right? Like they have to be making the noise, which is very, very cute.
It's very cute. But the teleporter slides out of the safe room, and by the time the OSI and the security folks roll up or hut their way up, they're gone. So the target has gotten away, and that is the cut to credits. And then we get the post reveal where Rusty has been sitting in this THX 1131 or whatever the number is chair with just a comically large dick sucking machine working at him.
And he's in a VR thing, just getting like he's got his hands out and is squeezing boobs, and like he's on the top of the world. And of course, Hunter is just like very dismissive, like get a nerd laid, and they think they're the masters of the universe. Very good stuff. I like Hunter a lot.
Hunter's great. Yeah. And that's this very good episode. Like this is Madcap. There are antics here. It uses the characters really well. And like, the orgy stuff is a bit of a tonal clang, but I'm into it. Like there's good gags there. Do you have any kind of final thoughts on it?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Anytime there's a heist, I'm usually going to be into it. So I was very excited when it was this episode when Gary was texting me. I couldn't remember it. I don't remember episode names very well. So he's like, the Unicorn in Captivity. It's such a great episode. And I'm like, I don't have any fucking clue what you're talking about. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, hell yes, this is going to be the one.
Yeah.
The orgy stuff really doesn't like it. It doesn't like, I don't think it's even like totally off a little bit. It just, I feel like if it was, as you mentioned in the commentary, that they just wish it was censored on all platforms. I think that would be funnier than it is now. Because there's an early episode too where like a young Venture sees his father's penis and it turns into a snake. And like I think that scene is funnier censored than it is just when you can see everything clearly. But I mean, fantastic episode, just full of good jokes, full of good action, and it's classic Venture Brothers, man. Like they just killed this stuff.
Love it.
I'm so excited for whatever they do to quote unquote wrap up. Like I want to see the final Venture Brothers thing that they managed to do. So
same, yeah. And that's one of the weird things about listening to the commentary of the season is them talking about plans for season 8 and 9. Half joking, but like there are times where like, oh yeah, you'll see more of this later, or like, oh, like we've got plans for that. And it's like, there's a real tragic irony to it. So they've got one chance, they've got one bite at it to, kind of wrap things up. And I am real curious to see where it ultimately goes as well.
We talked about this way back when I first guested, but like they did that season where they were like selling a t-shirt for every episode, and every episode of that season they had like characters were wearing like very specifically designed t-shirts, and you had to like guess which one it would be that you could buy at the end of the episode or whatever. And I bought every single shirt, I think, like maybe not one, and I don't have of them anymore, which is unfortunate, but I don't know what I could do or what we need to do as a society just to make sure these guys can continue doing whatever the fuck they want to. Like I wish they had a Patreon I could subscribe to, or I just like fucking kickstart the next 2 seasons of the Venture Brothers. I know that's unfeasible because animation is crazy expensive, but like I just want it. I just want it. Like what money do I need to pay you? Like if Adult Swim won't do it, like Jeremy Swim will. I promise. Like I'll try. I'll form a co-op. Like I don't know what we need to do.
we will see if we can find a way to make it happen. Oh.
I know a couple of guys. I mean, we could get this together. How do you feel about the mob, the Louisiana mob specifically?
Oh man, where can people find you, Jeremy?
Best place is on Twitter at JG Greer. That's where I tweet about all of my various projects on the Duckfeed network. Y'all probably already know I do Days of Future Cast with Gary, where we talk about X-Men and Marvel stuff mostly. And I also do a podcast right now called Still His Kingdom Keeps, which is a podcast about the TV show Merlin that aired on the BBC back in like 2008, and is really good. So you should go check all that stuff out. Just go to at JG Greer. I'm usually tweeting about some of it. So
yeah. Well, again, we really appreciate you hopping on and filling in. This has been a good time, and will continue to be a good time next episode.
Heck yeah.
If you are listening to the show, you probably know how to support us. Patreon, leaving ratings or reviews, telling your friends. We're getting close to wrapping this up. This show. We're running out of the Venture Brothers to talk about. But we know what we're doing after this. We're just kind of making some final arrangements before we do a full episode, and we're real excited to share it with you. And we will do it when we can. But yeah, until next time. Go Team Venture.